Hello, you guys. How are you guys? So first of all, I do want to extremely, sincerely, from the very bottom of my heart, apologize for how long this video took. I know that some of you students rely on my videos to come out on time. I know that Ms. Cunicelli's class also relies on my video to come on time. And I just apologize. I have been falling behind. Anyways, I'm getting my life together and I'm doing this. So this video will talk about what I taught on Zoom on Tuesday, March 2nd, and what I taught today on Zoom on Thursday, March 4th. Okay, so I'm going to combine the both lessons. These are the slides I used this week. And so, yeah, if you're one of those students that have missed one of the Zooms, or you don't have internet at home, you just kind of wait for a certain time or hour for my video to come out, or you're in another class, here's the video for you. I'm going to try not to make it long because I am combining two Zoom lessons together, but here we go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about art, literature, and printing. Three very important things. And we've already looked at art. Last week, we heavily focused on art. In my class, you had that week 26 art assignment due. And wow, a lot of you turned out to be amazing artists. Some of you guys, like if you guys lived in the Renaissance, merchants and rich bankers would definitely hire you to paint these beautiful portraits, these beautiful landscapes that you guys turned in for the week 26 art assignment. Edison Middle School is full of a bunch of awesome Renaissance artists, which is awesome. Right here, I just kind of want to sum up the whole artistic aspect of the Renaissance. And if you guys notice, I have the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, right? One is named Donatello, one is named Leonardo, Michelangelo, and Raphael. When the creators of the show were coming up with, they came up with the comic book, right? They came up with the storyline for these turtles. What should we name them? And the creator thought, you know what? It would be really cool if we can name these after the four amazing Renaissance artists, during the Renaissance time, right? And let's just kind of take a look. Even though we've already looked at some of their works, let's take a look at what specifically these four individuals were very famous for. So, the Mona Lisa, we already nerded out about her last week, okay? So I'm not going to talk too much about her, but there's this very famous sketch. Leonardo da Vinci, he's so cool that even his sketches, not even paintings, but his sketches were also just as amazing and awesome. And this sketch right here, it's called the Vitruvian Man. And what Leonardo da Vinci was trying to show to the world is that humans are created, or we have evolutionized into such a perfect form that if we were to move our arms up and down, or move our legs outward side to side, we would be, symmetrically and perfectly balanced with geometry, right? A perfect circle, a perfect square. You'll learn more about geometry when you get to high school, but that's a really cool thing that he wanted to point out, how, perfect humans have either been created or been evolutionized, where we are. This very famous painting is known as The Last Supper. I know that a lot of my Latino, Spanish speaking students that are Christian, you guys have probably seen that painting either at your own house or a relative's house. I know my mom had this painting over our dinner table. It's just a very famous painting to have over your dinner table if you're a Christian. And I don't know why it's very famous and popular within the Latino culture. But the story is that this is Jesus Christ's last dinner. And there's a little story going on in here. You see that this guy, and I'm sorry for how pixelated this painting is. I tried getting a better one, the original better one, but I can't. But right here, you see that this guy, one of his apostles, is holding a stash of gold coins. That is because he just gave up Jesus to the Romans. The Romans paid him out to give up Jesus and kind of find him so that they can, go ahead and crucify him. Okay, so very famous Leonardo da Vinci's artworks. Okay, we got the Mona Lisa, the Last Supper, the Vitruvian Man, and then we have Michelangelo, right? Someone that we've seen time and time again on my Bitmoji page on my homepage, right? Why is this guy famous? Well, for starters, people think when they look at him just from a picture, oh, that statue is probably 5 feet tall, 6, 7 feet. Nope. It's really tall, guys. It's really tall. Humans, let me draw what a human would look like standing next to it, like probably down here. Actually, no, like probably down here, right? So they're always constantly having to look up. And Michelangelo knew, by the way, one man, built a 15, 20 foot statue right here, right? And Michelangelo, knowing that the viewers, the humans that would see this, they would have to be looking up. So what he did on purpose was he made certain body parts, like his hand right here, to be kind of disproportionate, exaggeratedly bigger, so that when people from the bottom are looking up, some body parts look the same. But once you start, if you were to, start floating and like, flying, once you are lifted from the ground and you're looking at the David statue, this statue right here is called David, from eye level, let's pretend that this is a human right here and is looking from eye level, you realize that certain body parts are a lot bigger than what they should be. And Michelangelo did that on purpose because it was all about perspective. He was thinking about the perspective that his viewers would have when seeing the statue, which is just amazing. Right here you have the creation of Adam, a very famous painting. I have this part cropped out on my homepage right here. You guys have been seeing this painting on my homepage for my canvas for a while now. What's the story behind it? Remember, people back then were hiring these artists, right? They were being patrons, right? Hiring these artists to do certain artwork for them, including popes and rich bishops. They would hire these artists to do sometimes religious paintings. And Michelangelo in this painting was hired so that he can show what Christians believe. Christians believe that this is God right here, created Adam, right? Christians believe that the first two humans alive were Adam and Eve. And let me erase everything right now. And what's happening is that if you guys notice Adam's body is kind of limp, it's kind of weak. You could tell that he's just, there's a human body there. But what they're trying to show is that God is about to touch Adam. Okay. And the moment he touches him, it's no longer just going to be a body, with skin, meat, and bones. But the moment he touches him, Adam will gain a soul. Okay. The creation of Adam, that's the last thing, the last step, right? Make his body, his head, his arm, his stomach, his legs. And then the last thing, once you have a body there, right? It's kind of like a vegetable there because there's no life in there. Then he's going to touch him and give him a soul. Now, this very famous painting, The Creation of Adam, is not just one painting in the Vatican. It's a part of a plethora of beautiful paintings during this time. I'm sorry, in the Vatican, where the Catholic Pope lives, there's a chapel there. What's a chapel? It's a little room where Christians go to quietly pray in. And let's just take a look at that together, shall we? You know what? I don't think I'm sharing my sound. So I'm going to pause the video real quick and then make sure that my sound is being shared, because last time I uploaded a video, there was no sound when I shared a video. So 1 second. Okay, so I think I figured out why last time there was no audio when I was sharing a video. It should work this time, okay? So let's see. Let me press play. Right here is a video of the Sistine Chapel, right? It's where Michelangelo doesn't just draw this beautiful painting right here, but draws an entire biblical storyline in this chapel, okay? And by the end, Michelangelo takes 7 years to paint this. By the end, his back is contorted. It's messed up, deformed. He messed up his back because of how much stretching and painting walls and roofs and always constantly looking up, and, your arm, your neck gets messed up. 7 years to do this, but you'll see that it was worth it right now. Okay, let's wait for this.
This is the canoe that a young couple will get gloriously lost in together.
Hold on, this is an ad. Just want to point that out.
This is the checkers game where grandson and granddad will bond. These are the woods.
It's a nice ad, but it's not what we're here for.
Where a daughter will
Okay,
tell a mother
hold on one second.
she's nervous about starting a new school.
I, for some reason, can't skip the ad. Here it is. All right, there it is. Sorry.
In the center part of the ceiling, right above our heads, almost as a warning, Michelangelo describes the history of humanity from creation to fall. The way to salvation is clear.
Okay, sorry guys.
Man has only to choose. At the center, God looks upward with his back to us and suggests the only way to admire this masterwork, to immerse oneself completely in the fresco until one becomes part of it.
Okay, guys, I have to pause because this video is just very lagging. 1 second, guys. I gotta figure out what's going on here. Let me pause the video so that you guys aren't seeing me struggle here. This is just adding more time into my video. I know you guys hate this. Maybe skip if you can towards the next time you see me speak. 1 second. I'm having some difficulty, guys. I'm sorry, guys. 1 second. So the reason why my video is glitching so much is because the video itself is in extremely 4K quality, that it's too much for Screencastify, which is the program I use to screen record my camera and my computer screen. It's a little too much for it to handle. So I'm hoping that if I watch the video in this smaller screen, maybe you guys can see it better. So let's press play here.
There are 9 stories
It's still lagging.
from Genesis, the separation of the light from the dark.
So here's what we're going to do. I just want you guys to take a look at the Sistine Chapel. Look at
Creation of stars and planets.
Look at all the paintings, all the different angles. I'm not going to press the whole video because I already wasted too much time. But every single angle right here. Look at this little corner right here he had to paint. And some people would even say, and every little square, there's like squares. You guys notice here there's a square. There's a square right here. If you guys notice, this is the very famous creation of Adam right here. And what it's doing is in the Christian Bible and even in the Jewish Torah, you know, the Old Testament or in the Torah, there's these chapters in these holy books where they describe how God creates humanity. And it kind of goes to show from the creation all the way, and then the Bible, and even in the Torah, there's mention of how the world will end. And so what the Sistine Chapel shows, what Michelangelo did, is every single area kind of is telling a part of a story, right? Every single square right here is telling a part of a story. Some people even go ahead and compare this to a comic book, right? In comic books, every single page, every single little box with the little artwork is a part of a story. It's telling you a story. So this is the beautiful Sistine Chapel. Amazing. It's amazing. And yeah, we thank Michelangelo for doing that. And yeah, I'm sorry for the video. The video is posted on the slides that I will add into the week 27 module. So don't worry. You could still be able to see this video, which is a really good video, a really good, amazing quality video in the slides. Okay. So I just want to keep going now. 1 second. Let's go to the next slide. Donatello. He's this other very famous. I'm going to start talking a lot faster because we wasted so much time and I'm so sorry. But anyways, Donatello, he's this other very famous artist, also a part of the, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle. This guy is cool because he says, look, everyone is doing like the statues in like the marble stone, right? And if they're not doing statues, they're either painting or something. But he's like, I want to take it to the next level. I want to do a beautiful statue using metal, and specifically his medium is bronze, okay? Bronze metal, which I don't know if you know this, but to give metal form, there's a lot of, that's called welding, right? And to give metal form, you have to put metals in extreme temperatures and take them out immediately and start, giving it form with the chisel or some kind of hammer or something, and work with it immediately. It's very timely, right? You have to work with it quick. So Donatello, to make these life-size structures using metal is not an easy thing to do, yet he did it. And they're still very intact, very strong today, right? Metal is a little harder to decay and not last. Then we get Raphael, and this one, I'm going to try to do this one quickly. Raphael, sorry for the sounds, but Raphael, he gets hired by a very famous merchant, also / artist, to, I'm going to be your patron, and I want to pay you so that you can paint me, looking good, looking rich, right? And this is kind of like what we were saying. Art during the Renaissance becomes very popular because you have these rich bankers, you have these rich merchants hiring artists so that they can be painted in nice, luscious, luxurious clothes, right? But that's just one painting. One of the best paintings that Raphael did that gets just like, it's the most famous, is this one right here. This one's called the School of Athens, and it's supposed to show Plato. I always forget it. This is Socrates or Aristotle, but they're supposed to show Greek philosophers during, ancient Greek history. And what I love about this painting is that Raphael could have just painted all these beautiful, realistic looking humans right here, but he said, no, I want to go all out. I want to add as much detail as possible and make this the best thing ever. So he adds statues inside his painting. He adds linear perspective, which is something we've already talked about, right? Where you get dimension, right? You can tell it's an illusion of space inside of painting. And then he not only adds that, but he's like, I'm also want to add some structures, made out of metal. This is supposed to be gold right here, right? And he does these carvings inside his painting, which is just amazing. And look, all of the detail right here. No one asked him to do this insane amount of detail work, and he did it anyways. So I might even I'll say it, I think this one's just so much more amazing than the Mona Lisa, but the Mona Lisa is also pretty stunning itself, and also it has all that, fame and whatnot. But this is just a beautiful artwork. So yeah, those were the four very famous artists at the time. But now we're going to talk about, let me put my face up here. We're going to talk about literature. Okay. This also becomes extremely, extremely popular during the Renaissance. Literature. Okay. What is literature? Literature is when an author writes a book or writes something, and throughout the time, it becomes such a staple, right? It becomes so famous that even throughout the centuries and years, it's still famously remembered for how well the book was written, okay? And literature, what I also like to say is you don't always have to do art with stone. You don't always have to make art with a paintbrush and paint or color pencils or colors. You can make art by using words in your own way, right? Creating a poem, creating a story, and use certain words to evoke emotion, right? To make a story interesting where your reader is like, so impacted by and triggered, or just feels these emotions through what you wrote. And that's exactly what's happening in the Renaissance. Remember, people are starting to say, hey, everything doesn't have to be about the Bible. So people start writing these storylines that they have in their head. They're like, this would be interesting to talk about, to write about, right? And so what you see is Characteristics of Renaissance poetry was with wit, which means intelligence, beauty, and truth, or being woke, as you must say. Poets use repetition to emphasize their themes. Excuse me, I'm burping, but a lot of what these people were writing about during the Renaissance was usually about beauty. It was usually about intelligence, right? Education, or something about the truths of humanity and whatnot, okay? The study of classical languages and values moved Renaissance writers to incorporate the classical style into their own works and encouraged a more worldly view than that of the Middle Age religious writing. So right there, I just read that because they're relearning everything from the Roman Empire or from ancient Greek, and they're seeing the way they did things. They're leaving behind the way that they're like, okay, we're going to do the same. We're going to leave behind all the religious writing that always took place during medieval times, and we're going to write about things that matter or things that entertain, okay? So it's moving and leaving behind church teachings and some very famous works, literature, pieces of works that came out from this era, right, from the Renaissance, is William Shakespeare, his very famous book about Hamlet. And some of you guys are like, well, isn't he also remembered for Romeo and Juliet? Yes, and we'll get to that. But Hamlet is what inspired The Lion King, right? You got two brothers. One brother's a king, one isn't, and they're constantly feuding with each other. There's that jealousy, that revenge, those evil feelings, right? The Prince, I'm not going to talk about him too much. You won't really know about him till later. Don Quixote by Miguel Cervantes. And to my Spanish-speaking Latino friends, you know exactly who Chapulín Colorado is, right? It's that, Mexican superhero. He shows up whenever someone's in need, but he's kind of dumb. He's kind of funny. He doesn't really know how to save the day, but somehow he ends up saving the day, even though he's not really talented, right? Like superheroes, actual superheroes. And that's inspired by Don Quixote, which is a funny, humorous book written by a Spanish Renaissance writer. And it's a very, very famous book. King Lear by William Shakespeare, Paradise by John Milton, Utopia. If you've ever watched Hunger Games or Divergent, that's inspired by this book, Utopia by Sir Thomas More. Romeo and Juliet, two kids falling in love with each other, but their families don't let them see each other. So, what will they do, right? William Shakespeare is just one of the most, when people think of the Renaissance and then they think about writing specifically, they will always first top of the head think Shakespeare, William Shakespeare. This guy was amazing at writing stories that were drama filled, that had, it was kind of sad. It was either funny. There's some parts that are even scary. Like there's a part in the book of Hamlet where there's like this ghost and you kind of like get freaked out. Like, whoa, what is this horror story now? So people love this, okay, because they don't have movies back then. And when you're reading, and you guys know this, when you're reading and you actually understand what you're reading, and it's actually entertaining, and you're actually very interested in what's about to happen next, as you're reading, your brain is forming the images of what you're reading. You're basically creating a movie for yourself while you're reading, right? That's why these people love Shakespeare and love these other Renaissance writers, because for the first time ever, they're reading something that's entertaining for them, that's taking them out of their own reality and putting them in this made-up reality. And it's entertaining, it's funny, it's sad, it's interesting, it's different. Unlike medieval times where everything was always about the Bible. And remember, we're only talking about Europe. So I'm talking about Europe, right? In Europe, in medieval times, it was always about the Bible, right? So let me keep going. And so how do books become very famous? Because medieval times, and you guys should remember me saying this, schools weren't a thing. Kids weren't going to school. Kids were helping on the farm, in the manor, or their parents in the craft, right? In their craft. Books were not even a thing. Some people lived their entire lives during medieval times and they never saw a book. They never had their hands on a book. So how did this change drastically? Okay, and this is what we're about to learn about. Let's just compare medieval times versus Renaissance. Okay, before 1455, it took months to produce a single book. Why? Because a person had to handwrite that. Can you imagine a chapter book being handwritten? Do you imagine can you imagine how long that would take? Months. Sometimes if a book was that long, yeah, it would take over a year. And then it says right here, most books were written on expensive parchment made from animal skin. So the paper was heavy. It was really thick because it came from animal skin. So that's why it's already expensive, because a human will be charging you for how many hours they spent on writing that book, right? So that's already making it expensive. And then two, the paper's made out of animal skin, like hide or something. That's not cheap either, okay? Then a scribe, which is the person that writes the books, he's using up to 80 quills in a day. What's a quill, Mrs. Escobar? A quill is that, when you think of history, you automatically think of that person writing, right, using that long feather. That's what a quill is, right? And there's a long feather, and at the very tip, it's pointy. So people would dip the feather into ink, right, and then start writing. Because these scribes would write so much in a day, they would go through 40 quills in a day, almost comparison to like 20 pens in a day. That's how much they're writing, okay? There were only about, now I'm reading over here, there were only about 30,000 books in all of Europe in 1455. Now, some of you guys are like, oh, that's not bad. There's books around. No. 30,000 books in a continent? Remember, Europe is a continent. It's not a country. A continent is a group of countries. So within all these countries in Europe, only 30,000 books exist. Some of you guys are all of you guys were sixth graders last year, but some of you guys came here to Edison Middle School, and on November 15, 2019, you guys had, if you guys had permission, to go onto the field trip to CSUB, right? That's the California State University of Bakersfield, right? The college here at Bakersfield. And you guys saw a basketball game that day. And I remember that day really well because it was my birthday. And I have to go to that. But anyways, I went to that college. And in that college, in the library itself, there's 100,000 books in there. Compare that to 30,000. What? That means that in Europe, there was barely any books. But now, during the Renaissance, this guy, I want you guys to focus on this guy's name. Where's my little drawing tool? I can't draw, but this guy, Johann Gutenberg. Okay, this guy's awesome. If it weren't for him, I don't think the Renaissance would have existed. Here's why. He invents this machine right here, and it's called the printing press, okay? After Johann Gutenberg, in the year 1455, invents this printing press, ladies and gentlemen, it takes in one day, you can print 600 pages. And now that people are traveling, and now that people are, merchants are exploring the world or just traveling the world to trade with other people, other cultures, guess what? They just found out in Europe that in China, they invented regular paper, like the paper we use right here. The Chinese had already figured that out years ago. But in medieval times, Europeans didn't trade. Europeans didn't travel. They didn't really know who Genghis Khan was. They didn't know what was happening in China. But now in the Renaissance, that's happening now, right? After the Crusades, after the Black Death, peasants were leaving, exploring the world. And now trade is back. So now they see, hey, in China, they invented this thinner piece of paper. It's a lot lighter. It's a lot cheaper. Let's use that instead. So Gutenberg makes this machine, and it's using the paper from China. And in 45 years later, there's now 10 to 12 million books in Europe. So now we're seeing normal numbers. 10 to 12 million books. That's great. That means that people are now reading for the first time ever. People can now walk by a store during the Renaissance and they see a book for the first time. They're like, how much is that? It used to be, back then, it used to be probably hundreds, if not thousands of coins. But now it's only like 2 coins or something. It's something very cheap and affordable. So now people are like, oh yeah, let me buy that. Let me see that. I want to see that. And they're opening their books and they're like, whoa, on here, there are some things that I don't understand, these symbols. And so now people are interested in school and education. People are interested in learning, and so much more people start to learn how to read. I don't think you guys realize how amazing it is to have that ability to read, because if you guys are looking at the screen right now, these letters right here, honestly, they're just symbols. And you have that skill of knowing exactly what that symbol means, knowing exactly what sound that symbol represents. And if you put those symbols together, you guys know exactly what words those symbols put together represent. Some people wish they had that ability. And people during the Renaissance, they start learning how to read. And that's why education just becomes so popular, right? Because now people are not only writing these cool books that Shakespeare is writing about, but they're also writing about math, science, astronomy, medicine, literature, history from the Romans and the Greeks, philosophy, etc., etc., etc. This is the revolution in printing. And thanks to Gutenberg, we have the Renaissance. Thanks to literature, we have movies today, ladies and gentlemen. How many movies today were created because of books? The entire MCU Marvel universe comes from comic books. Harry Potter movies come from the books. How many anime shows come from mangas, right? Japanese books. So many movies, and we owe it all to the Renaissance. Thank you to the Renaissance. Thank you. I'm going to end the video right now because I don't want this video to be way too long like I used to make them. So have a wonderful day, guys. I just combined the 2 Zoom lessons for Tuesday, March 2nd, and from Thursday, March 4th. This is what was taught this week in my classroom. Have a wonderful day, guys. Stay safe. You guys are awesome. Bye.